Alright, we are officially in the new year, and I want to talk about the fights and the movement in MMA that I am most looking forward to. There are not too many events fully listed, and a lot of fights are still left up to speculation, but I want to talk about some of the ones I'm most excited for, as well as talk about what I want to see in MMA this year. Starting off with the flyweight division. You really hope that this is the year it starts to gather the attraction and attention that it deserves, because with the exciting champion it has in Alexander Pantoja, who fights not only often but is always looking for a finish, you would think that this would bring a lot of attention to the division. However, with him having already beaten a lot of the division and without extreme interest in moving up, you wonder what fight is really going to bring eyes to the division. And my immediate thoughts are, Davidson Figueiredo. What if he drops back down and challenges for the title? The man already has 2 wins over the champion already, but even if he's a stylistic matchup for him, does he still pose the same challenge after having not fought in the division for such a long time? Adding size, weight, is he going to have trouble making weight? I mean, remember he did at a young age. I don't know if this would constitute as a super fight, but it absolutely is interesting. My only fear is that we end up back in a timeline of watching Davidson, Brandon Moreno just fight each other time after time, not ever letting anyone else get a chance at the title. Truthfully, I'm not super interested in seeing that again. Maybe this is why Pantoja is such a fresh of breath air in this division. I mean, it's finally something new and someone who's willing to put on new fun fights. My other hope is that we get to see an exciting breakthrough contender rise up and create enough buzz in the division to maybe get more eyes on it. Someone like a Kai Kara-France who will create a big splash, maybe somebody who's a big knockout artist, good on the mic, just something. I mean, maybe we'll hear about some new signings coming up from other organizations. Or maybe Pantoja even goes for a double champion status at some point, depending on the fight. And honestly, if it's something like Sean O'Malley, someone who he has beef with in the past, I'm okay if it's not a title fight. I mean, flyweights put on a consistent banger every time. Just give us something for the casual fans to get excited about. Kind of in the same ballpark, I want to talk about the possibility of new signings coming in from other organizations. With PFL's purchase of Bellator, we're expecting to finally have a large competitor to the UFC. But as we're seeing here, it looks like they're having trouble keeping their roster happy, paying fighters what they want, what they were promised, giving them the contracts and the fights as often as they were hoping. And this is leaving a lot of fighters looking to go elsewhere, primarily to the UFC. And this seems to have upset a lot of Bellator's main talent, like Pitbull, AJ McKee, and many others that have expressed concern, and some even asking for the release so they can be free to pursue other promotions elsewhere. Now, this is great news for the UFC because there's a lot of people in these other organizations that we've been really excited, and we've always wondered what happens if they do come over. We finally got to see this a little bit with MVP earlier this year. The only downside is he came here a lot later than we would like to. And we really wonder, would it have been a lot better if he was in his prime? And hopefully we can see a little bit more of that from this whole deal and get some fighters that aren't too old yet. Now, this is not good in the sense of creating competition for the UFC at the highest level. However, it does get us the possibility to maybe get some more of the best fighters under the same roof and make more of the best fights between some of the best competition. Because at the end of the day, I am very interested in seeing the very best fight the very best. Maybe just not in the case of the monopoly that's forming, but I'll take what I can get. Because a few years ago, we did have a few legitimate organizations that put on fights for us to talk about. And although the PFL is trying big things with some champ versus champ fights from other promotions, it's left a roster of fighters that can't be properly utilized and talent that's really going to waste, and that's sad to see. So although I don't think that these mergers and acquisitions are actually going to grow into what we were hoping for originally, I'm hoping at the very least we can end up with the best fights possible under some roof. And chances are that's going to be in the UFC. Now, stepping back from this, I'm extremely interested in seeing the growth in some of the talent that we got to see here in 2024. I mean, after all, we had multiple fighters make it either nearly or all the way to the top in exciting fashion, and I don't know what their potential is yet. Namely, I'm thinking of Ilia Topuria, who's knocked out 2 of the very best in the division's history and became featherweight champion of the world. And although he didn't win Fighter of the Year, it's hard to say he wasn't extremely impressive. And these 2 wins were very good, and it really makes you wonder, if he keeps this up, defends the title a couple times, and you don't see anyone posing a threat to him, how good could this kid be? And I know he's expressed interest in moving up to lightweight, but I really am interested to see if he can solidify himself as one of the best of all time at featherweight, at least before trying to go up to another weight class. Regardless, I think he's phenomenal, and he's a great talent, and I am really excited to see another year of what his career can do for him. Another fighter in the same boat for me is Tom Aspinall. He's now won and defended the interim heavyweight title, and that's a title that's pretty fast-paced and it's deadly, and he really hasn't been in danger many times in his career. Obviously, there's the injury in the fight against Curtis Blades. He's been tagged once or twice, but, nothing too crazy. And obviously, the next fight for him would be Jon Jones for the undisputed title. I mean, we're unsure at this time if that fight's really going to happen, but it'd be great to see. And regardless of who he fights, I want to see him tested against the best, and to see if he has the talent that he's shown so far, and is it going to hold up over the long run. As you know, heavyweight itself, it really only ever takes one punch to end any kind of fight at any given time. However, with the records in heavyweight, these really are beatable. We've got 3 title defenses to be considered one of the best of all time, at least in the UFC. Obviously, this is not taken into account Fedor Emelianenko or others, but this isn't a division that's got 13 defenses in its history. So with enough willingness to fight and contenders, I think the right champion could really overtake some of the greats in the division, and we could see a really good heavyweight king in the making in the next couple years. Obviously, we still have Francis Ngannou in the mix, who is a lineal heavyweight champion, and there's a lot of other moving pieces, but at the very least, there's too much in the air right now, and if we can get somebody in there who's going to fight and win consistently, that really might end up answering some of these questions. And personally, I don't even think he needs to fight Jon Jones to pull this off. But I do want to see it, and more than anything, I just want to see the division continue to move forward. And lastly, I want to talk about the new branch of talent in the 170-pound division, because famously, it was called the welterweight division, as none of the top guys wanted to fight, and there was very little movement in the rankings for a really long time. This led to a lot of rank squatting, a period of time where we didn't really have any new fighters coming up, and title fights that just weren't super fun or entertaining, and a lot of time between them. But these days, we have an idea of this new guard of the welterweight division. New names entering the top, such as Buckley, Ian Gary, Sean Brady, JDM, Shavkat, etc. These are all killers who are now in the mix. Carlos Prado is another one. Really fun talent. We've got a lot going on in the books. And we've had a good period of time where we've had the Kamaru Usman, Colby, Gilbert Burns at the top of the division. And at the time, this was really good. But there wasn't a really big chance of beating these guys. So this top 3 or 4 of the division really seemed steps above the rest. But right now, I think any of these guys could lose to anyone in the new guard. A few of them have already fought even. For the most part, this division's been really dominant for a long time. And, having an era of GSP in the past, the Kamaru era, the Woodley era, we didn't have a lot of belt switch-ups very often. But now, after Leon, now Bilal, and this fresh meat up in the division, I think we could really see the belt move around a couple times in the next year. But yeah, there's a lot I'm really excited for this year. What do you guys think? What are you most excited for? Is it a certain fight? Is it a division? Is it a new breed of talent, a new organization, new rules? Let me know below what you're thinking.